Hello everybody, Tommyruin here and welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to be going over a new tanking build that I've been playing in Project Ascension to tank heroic dungeons and all the content that I can as a two-handed tank. Now I was helped with this build by a community member named Dow who makes a lot of tank builds and is very helpful when it comes to all things tanking. They post constantly on the Ascension Discord looking for people if they need help with tanking builds, so make sure to hit them up if you have any questions regarding tanking in Project Ascension. So let's jump right into the talents that we have and the abilities in this two-handed tanking build. First off, in Balanced Druid we have Bark Skin, which reduces the damage we take by 15% for 12 seconds on a 1 minute cooldown. So this provides high uptime on the damage reduction, and it's also usable whilst we are stunned or feared, which happens quite a lot in heroic dungeons, so this is a very useful talent to pick up. In Beastmaster Hunter we have Aspected the Monkey to increase our dodge chance by 2%. And then in Survival Hunter, I've picked up Feign Death if we need to reset, and I've also picked up Deflection for the 3% increased parry chance and the reduced time that we will be disarmed if we get disarmed. In Protection Paladin, we have got Devotion Aura, Divine Protection and Righteous Fury, and in the talents we've got Improved Righteous Fury to increase the threat we generate by Righteous Fury by 30% and also reduce the damage we take by 3%. We've got Blessing of Sanctuary, which gives us mana when we block, parry or dodge, and we're going to be parrying and dodging quite a lot in this build, and it also increases our strength and our stamina by 5%. Reckoning allows us to generate extra threat with the extra auto attacks that it allows us to do, and it also increases our parry chance by 5%. In the Retribution Paladin tree we have Deflection again, which increases our parry chance by 3% and gives us a chance to deal holy damage when we parry, which deals extra threat. In the Combat Rogue tree, I've picked up Evasion for the increased dodge chance on a cooldown, and Kick so we can interrupt enemy spellcasts. I've got Deflection in the Combat Rogue talent tree for the 3% increased parry chance, and the increased threat on Ghostly Strike and Riposte. And when we use Ghostly Strike, when we use Riposte, it reduces the cooldown of our Ghostly Strike by 3%, which is important, and I'll go over why Ghostly Strike is good when we get to it. Riposte is active once we parry, and it deals 150% weapon damage and slows melee attack speed by 20%, so that's good for survivability because it means they are attacking us at a slower rate. Blade Flurry is nice for AoE threat. It's not a needed talent, you can switch that out for something else if you want, but it's really nice when you're doing big pulls to generate threat on a lot of mobs. Unfair Advantage deals damage when we dodge or parry, so this is really nice because we're dodging and parrying quite a lot. In the Subtlety tree we have Ghostly Strike, which deals damage and also increases our chance to dodge or parry when we're using a single two-handed weapon like we will be in a two-handed tank spec by 10% for 8 seconds, and this awards 1 combo point. We also have Setup, which gives us a chance to add a combo point when we resist or dodge, and it also increases the duration of our Ghostly Strike effect by 6 seconds, so that takes that duration up to 14 seconds of 10% increased dodge or parry chance, and this is going to be parry chance for us because of that two-handed weapon equip. In the Shaman tree in Enhancement we have Wind Fury Weapon. This generates extra threat for us based on the extra attacks it deals. In the Affliction Warlock tree we've got Drain Soul because we need to generate soul shards to summon our pet, which is the Voidwalker again. You can also use the Fell Hunter or the Fell Guard depending on the situation. We've got Demon Skin, which gives us armor and extra health generated. We've got Soul Link, which shares damage with our demon, with Demonic Embrace increasing the amount shared by 6%. Now, we can take Voidwalker because Master Demonologist gives us 10% reduced physical damage taken. If we were to switch the Voidwalker for a Fell Hunter, that reduces our spell damage taken by 10%. And if we were to switch to the Fell Guard, it increases the damage we do, which increases our threat generated, but it also reduces all the damage we take by 5%, which is really nice. Now in the Warrior tree, the Arms tree is where the crux of our talents and our two-handed tank build is found. We have Heroic Strike for the extra threat generated. I macro this in with Revenge. We've got Charge to get to our targets. We've got Thunderclap to deal AoE threat. And we've got Mocking Blow. Now Mocking Blow is not only good for generating threat on the targets, but with one of our talents it acts as a damage reduction cooldown. Deflection increases our parry chance by 3% and our stamina by 3%, and we gain damage reduction against direct damage spells equal to 33% of our parry chance with the capstone. So with this talent, and I've got 30% base parry, this reduces the damage we take by 10% from spells. Iron Will gives us increased parry chance based on our strength, and gives us a 100% chance to gain 50% damage reduction for 10 seconds after we deal damage with Mocking Blow. So Mocking Blow on a 2-minute cooldown has a 50% damage reduction applied to it with Iron Will. Tactical Mastery increases our armor contribution from items by 40%, and the capstone bonus means that when we're using a two-handed weapon, we shrug off 30% of the damage taken from any physical attacks against us that exceed 10% of our maximum health. So this works like stagger for brewmasters in retail. If we take a damaging attack that exceeds 10% of our maximum health, 30% of that damage will be spread out over 10 seconds, which really reduces the impact of big hits from bosses and mobs. Unrelenting Assault reduces the cooldown of our revenge by 2 seconds, and it increases the damage done by revenge by 20%. In the protection tree we have Blood Rage. I like this because it gives me threat on demand when I need it, which is nice to get a Thunderclap off or a Revenge off if I don't have any rage. Defensive Stance reduces the damage we take and increases the threat regenerate. Taunt is a taunt. Revenge is what we use as our filler ability. It's on a really low cooldown with the REs and the talents that we take, and it generates a lot of threat and deals a big amount of damage actually. Improved Thunderclap increases the damage of Thunderclap by 30% and increases its slowing effect by an additional 10%, and it also reduces the cost by 4 rage, which is really nice. And Thunderclap is used to generate a lot of aggro in AoE situations. Adaptive Defense increases our dodge chance by 5%, and the capstone on this reduces the damage we take by 5% for 10 seconds after we dodge an attack, which is really nice. Improved Revenge increases the damage of our Revenge ability by 20%, and it strikes an additional target. And following a Revenge, we can use Devastate on 3 targets instead of just 1, which is again good for generating aggro. Improved Defensive Stance reduces all damage we take whilst in defensive stance by 5%, and gives us a chance to become enraged when we parry or dodge, giving 10% increased physical damage, which increases our threat. Vigilance reduces the threat of a DPSer by 10%, and it also allows us to taunt when that person is targeted for an attack. So this is really nice. If you've got a high threat DPS, you plonk the Vigilance on them and you can threat when they get attacked, and it also reduces their base threat. We've got Devastate, which gives a Sunder effect and also generates threat. This is nice because we twin it with Improved Revenge to get Devastates off in AoE situations. We've also got Shockwave, which is really nice when we twin it with a random enchant that we use. And this is an AoE stun, and it twins, like I said, nicely with Thunderclap and a random enchant that we use. So this is a strength-based build, and you'll want to be stacking the strength items that give defense and stats like parry and dodge chance. Our main stat for this build is going to be strength. And let's look at some random enchants then. So the random enchants that are used for this build, firstly our legendary is Overheating. This generates a lot of threat and it's very nice. It does some extra damage and generates a bit of threat. It can be used quite nicely when you tab target between mobs because the stacks generate quite quickly. Now if you are feeling quite weak and you're not feeling as tanky as you should be, you could also pick up the Blademaster random enchant, because that gives you a bit more survivability for a two-handed tank. Now, as our epics, we have Crackling Thunder, which leaves a thunder effect on the floor when you do a Thunderclap. That is really nice because it generates extra threat over time and it deals nature damage. Natural Disaster is an epic RE that gives 25% more threat from nature-based abilities. Thunderclap being one of those means that we get 25% extra threat from Thunderclap and Crackling Thunder, which is really good because the extra threat generated is definitely needed when tanks are dealing very low threat, which is the current situation. The final epic random enchant that I use is Thundering Blow. Now this means that Shockwave deals 10% additional damage as nature against targets affected by Thunderclap. And Shockwave's cooldown is reduced by 1 second for every target affected by Thunderclap. So this is really nice. It allows you to AoE stun more often by targets affected by your Thunderclap, and the extra nature damage that Shockwave generates is also increased by the random enchant Natural Disaster. I also use 3 out of 3 Reproachful Revenge for the 18% increased critical strike chance that Revenge will get from that. I use 3 out of 3 Hasty Revenge because that reduces the cooldown of Revenge by almost 1 second, so you can now Revenge every 2.5 seconds. I use Taunting Revenge. I use 2 out of 3 for those to get 10% increased threat from Revenge. We've got Aegis, which gives us 350 armor if we are hit with a melee attack. I also use Deflection because that increases our parry chance by 1%. Now those are the random enchants that I use. You can switch those out if you feel like you need to. Let's go over the rotation quickly that I use, and it's not really a rotation, but let's just talk about what I do. So I make sure that I got my Voidwalker up. I make sure that Soul Link is applied to the Voidwalker so that they're sharing the damage I take. I've got Blessing of Sanctuary on myself and my targets. I've got Demon Armor up, and I've got Vigilance on the target that's dealing the most threat. I've also got Righteous Fury on, and you want to make sure that this is always on. If you die, Righteous Fury gets removed, so you need to make sure you reapply it. So what I normally do, I either pull the mobs back and I Blood Rage so I can generate Rage, or I charge in, which generates Rage when I charge. I then use Thunderclap to generate an instant shock of threat, and I go in with a Ghostly Strike and a Riposte because those allow me to generate some high threat on demand. Revenge is then used if we block or dodge or parry, so we're going to be dodging and parrying in this build, so we use Revenge and Devastate to benefit from that combo. Shockwave is really nice to interrupt spellcasting if you can with the stun, and like I said, with the Thundering Blow RE, if you're using Thunderclap, you use that first, and then Shockwave so you get the reduced cooldown on your Shockwaves. You can rotate through your defensive cooldowns. You've got Evasion, Divine Protection. You've got your Warlock Summon Pet ability. So with the Voidwalker, that gives you a shield. And you've got Barkskin. So you've got a lot of defensives at your disposal to use. But this build I found very, very tanky. It's been better than my shield tank, I think. And it also generates more threat. So that's really nice. It's a really nice build, and I hope you enjoy playing with it. But that is all from me. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all very soon.